Of all, the study addresses the evidence gap that exists on youth programming. There is a lot that many players are trying to do for the young people and with the young people, but we need to update the status of affairs of the young people. What do the young people want to see more in their space, and what areas do they need support more? And so this research is an effort to collect data, evidence, to inform what the young people really aspire for, and for players like government, civil society and development partners to program on the basis of such evidence in order to be responsive to the current needs of the young people in the region.
I believe that we are still trapped into a narrative seeing young people as this homogeneous group, without realizing that there is a massive difference of circumstances from 18 to 35, and then all these socioeconomic circumstances. But then when we take a step back and think of young women, we know that patriarchy negatively affects their participation at private and public life. As such, when we want to investigate to which extent the environment is enabling youth participation, we need also to focus specifically on young women participation. Young women participation is this big, different group. Let's take, for example, young women with disabilities. Which type and form of disabilities? What type of socio-economic challenges and circumstances affect them? What's their level of education? And many other aspects from rural to urban, and also the way the digital divide affects them. Starting from this kind of analysis, we have then realized that it was extremely important not just to investigate youth participation, but even more young women participation from an inclusive perspective, which means that we have focused as well on young people with disabilities.
The research addresses the programming needs of a cluster and set of players. To begin with, the youth themselves. They need a space and a process through which they can express their own needs, aspirations, and what they want to see working on, and whoever wants to support them, where they should put the support. 2, government policymakers at all levels, from national youth councils to members of parliament that represent young people, but also policymakers in the institutions of government, such as national youth councils and ministries responsible for taking care of the needs of the young people, and lastly, the development partners who are supporting government efforts and also in some way supporting young people's efforts. They need to know through this research for the next 3, 4 years, 5 years, what should we prioritize in order to be in solidarity with the young people and address their identified needs.
Conducting such a study, which basis is indeed inclusivity, was not easy, because inevitably we know that the 6 countries of our consideration, but more generally the continent, is affected by an evident digital divide, which means that conducting and trying an outreach to the most vulnerable was not easy. We tried with the expedient of having a cross-sectoral investigation through focus group in each country of our interest, and although it was very interesting of having the engagement with different stakeholders, yet it was a little bit challenging in terms of investigating, collaborating, exchanging with, for example, young people with disabilities, but also different young women groups.
So with the existing frameworks for youth participation in leadership and contribution to the governance of this continent, what is this unique thing we should be looking forward to from this study?
The frameworks are in place, guiding what young people are, who they are, what their needs are, and what governments and other players could do to address these needs. But the frameworks lack a life. Therefore, this study goes a step further. It studies the voices, the needs, and the practice on how young people are being engaged, and addresses the gap of the distance between the frameworks and the needs of young people. If you like, this study moves the frameworks from policies to results. And this is the addition or the value add that the study brings to the very many wonderful frameworks that already exist at national level, regional level, and continental level.
Tusonga mbele mama Afrika, Afrika, Tusonga mbele mama Afrika, Afrika,
Around young people very often associate them with violence, treating them more as a threat than anything else. In securitized responses to young people, hard security approaches that make young people more frightened of their governments than anyone else, and this is completely counterproductive.
Peace education strives to create understanding and a common ground on strategies that benefit groups, individuals that are in conflict.
The children of today, they are the leaders of the 2063, but the young people of today, they are leaders of today.
Be mindful of what we do, especially for the digital hygiene part. It's really important.
Because most of the time when we look at the victims or people who are affected, we look at them as in form of numbers. We don't look at the potentials that they can bring into the conversation. And I think it is very important that not only the youth that have been victims, but every youth need to be meaningfully engaged, as well as also recognize what they can do and for them to be appreciated for what they have done.
Socio-economic integration in East Africa, it can only succeed if peace, stability, and security are established in the region. Article 124 of the treaty establishing the East African Community is very clear on issues of security, but also the strategies that we take to ensure our
on partner states to develop a common approach towards marginalized groups, including children and young people, PAC integrations without getting the youth involved. Long live the East African community, long live the young leaders. May God bless you all. Thank you for your kind attention.
We are giving it back to VIZ for supporting this initiative. Please stand up on your feet and give a rousing appreciation to VIZ. Please do that.
So thank you so much, and also to the entire management. Pass our appreciation.
Document that is required.
So in the case
yes.
where
but where you are non-compliant,
yes.
where you are, I've said where you are compliant,
yes.
that process must be completed within the service level, the time agreed on by that department.
We're going to hear from your representative, who will also give us a few remarks in less than 5 minutes, and then once he's done, we'll see your performance. So get ready, embrace yourself, whether you're going to start from there and come through. Let us know how much space you want.
One young Africa, we say, yes, we won. Africa market. Tusonga mbele mama Afrika, Afrika, Tusonga mbele mama Afrika, Afrika,
Types around young people very often associate them with violence, treating them more as a threat than anything else. In securitized responses to young people, hard security approaches that make young people more frightened of their governments than anyone else, and this is completely counterproductive.
Peace education strives to create understanding and a common ground on strategies that benefit groups, individuals that are in conflict.
The children of today, they are the leaders of the 2063, but the young people of today, they are leaders of today.
Be mindful of what we do, especially for the digital hygiene part. It's really, really, really important.
Because most of the time when we look at the victims or people who are affected, we look at them as in form of numbers. We don't look at the potentials that they can bring into the conversation. And I think it is very important that not only the youth that have been victims, but every youth need to be meaningfully engaged, as well as also recognize what they can do and for them to be appreciated for what they have done.
Socio-economic integration in East Africa, it can only succeed if peace, stability, and security are established in the region. Article 124 of the treaty establishing the East African Community is very clear on issues of security, but also the strategies that we take to ensure our people move across the borders in East Africa with a lot of peace.
The need to change the narrative that young people are essentially perpetrators of violence and victims of violence.
Article 120 of the treaty calls on partner states to develop a common approach towards marginalized groups, including children and young people, EAC integrations without getting the youth involved. Long live the East African community, long live the young leaders. May God bless you all. Thank you for your kind attention.
Tusonga mbele mama Afrika, Afrika, Tusonga mbele mama Afrika, Afrika,
What can we do to reduce unemployment? Can we be job creators rather than just job seekers?
The only business you can go into, whether you are a public figure, or public official or otherwise, and nobody will praise you or probe you, is agriculture.
This is where the ideas of young people can begin snowballing.
We need to get into technological innovation. Since 2021, investors have thrown $940 million into technology companies in Africa. So technology is the way to go.
It is important that whatever is done at policy level is disseminated to the users or to the beneficiaries.
What is your ideal Africa that you wish to have?
Africa which supports the youth, because the youth are the innovative and they can move Africa.
An Africa driven by business, trade and investment.
It's a united Africa, one Africa by Africans and for Africans.
I want the FCFTA to be for the young people and driven by the young people.
Buy East Africa, build East Africa. That is the brand we need to put across. That is the song we should be singing as youth.
Mine it is Africa that is borderless.
I think it's important to start to aim low, to build your business, to have some experience and then be confident enough to go beyond, from your village to the next town, to the region.
East Africa is a home of close to almost 200 million people. And if you are to go and design a product, one product, however small it is, you'll be assured of 200 million people. If you are selling that product for $1, yeah, and you are able to get that market, that's the money you'll be able to make. You can make Africa the factory of the world. It is possible.
It is a great privilege to be part of this important youth event, and allow me to express his deepest appreciation to you. He's so proud of you, of what you're doing, particularly you lead and the youth present there, but also at the continental level. As we continue to nurture the young people, the young generation, we must acknowledge that they need key technical skills to become more competitive in the process of realizing the African Continental Free Trade Area, and also to encounter various challenges related to financing and ease of movement.
I like the idea of having a forum where people from all walks of life and from the various social, economic, and political backgrounds sitting together and one roof to discuss issues of common interest. The Arusha debate will seek to discuss and highlight pressing African issues which would require regional, continental, and global policy attention and action. This kind of focus of the Arusha debate is something I wholeheartedly welcome and support. A successful Arusha debates will add another significant milestone to the Arusha brand. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say that I have no doubt in my mind that you will be able to deliver the Arusha debates as a world-class undertaking. If they could do it with Davos, you can also do it with Arusha. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, after those many words, it is now my singular honor and pleasure to declare the inaugural Arusha debates officially open. Best of luck.
Apologies for that brief delay. Good afternoon, good evening. Maybe we even have a few good mornings here with us. Welcome one and all to the Africa Unplugged. Perhaps I suspect many of you have been with us for the past couple of years of this program, but the program is taking on a few different aspects, and this particular one is focused on governance and youth inclusion in governance. My name is Fiona Kemijisha, and I will be your moderator this evening. As always, if you've been with us before, you probably have seen me. A couple of my colleagues are also joining us and will be assisting us in the back end. They'll be able to answer any questions or help you if you're having any trouble with connecting or anything like that. So feel free to leave anything like that in the comments. Welcome once again, and please do leave your name, where you're watching from, your organization in the comment section. Would very much like to connect with you. So welcome once again to what is episode 2 of the Africa Unplugged that is specifically focused on governance. Now, before we dive right in, I feel like I should just explain to you what's going on here. If you've been with us before in the Africa Unplugged, you're wondering, what is this new angle? Now, the African Union Civic Tech Fund, a Pan-African competition, which aims to support innovative civic tech initiatives that have potential to initiate meaningful participation by African citizens in addressing, solving governance and development challenges across our continent was published earlier this year. And this initiative is only part of a wider project of You Lead Africa's Winning Pitch, an online space to amplify youth voices, your voices, our voices in continental governance, and provide a safe space for discourse between us, young people, and our leaders. And as you may know from us, maybe even just hearing our name, You Lead is very much about young people leading, about young people being able to be included in the so many relevant areas of governance and business and growing our communities. So now that we have that brief introduction, I am going to go ahead and briefly and introduce our guest. We have a very special guest joining us this evening. I'll just keep saying evening because I'm working on East African time, but don't feel left out. I know we have so many people joining us from across the continent. We see you and we appreciate you. So once again, this evening, we have a very, very special guest, Mr. Constant, who is the Program Officer, Conflict Prevention, the Director of Political Affairs at the ECOWAS Commission. Mr. Constant, you are welcome. And perhaps this could be a good time for you to say hello to the young people and tell us just a little bit about yourself, sir. Welcome.
Thank you so much, as a facilitator. I'm happy to join you online from West Africa. I'm working as a program officer in charge of conflict prevention in ECOWAS. I'm based in Abuja, and as such, I'm working to make sure that some important protocols of ECOWAS are operationalized through what we call ECOWAS Conflict Prevention Framework. And that framework has 15 components. So I'm working to operationalize the 15 components with more than 15 directorates from early warning to other responses aspects in ECOWAS. So I work with member states, I work with a private sector, I work with the young people. So I'm happy to be with young people today to share some of our experiences in West Africa. So I'm from Benin Republic, so I speak French. So you kindly accept my poor English. It's not all that sounds like yours, but I'll do my best to communicate with you this evening. Over to you.
Thank you so much for that introduction. And it's very okay. English is also not our language. We don't own it, so it's no problem. We can understand each other, so we are okay. Thank you once again for accepting our invitation to come and spend some time with the young people on this platform. So we shall just get into the conversation. And once again, I welcome all of you to invite a friend, invite someone who you think would really like to be a part of this conversation. Your voices are very important. And we'll have a small segment at the end as well, where you can chip in your comments and questions. So please feel free to invite somebody. I'll ask my co-hosts to share the link in the description, in the comment box as well, so that you can share it with a friend or two. So let's get right into it. So before we start off, we always like to start off on a note of really just explaining what a certain body is. We don't want to assume, because this is a space actually for learning. So we don't assume that all of you maybe know what ECOWAS is and what exactly it does. Maybe you just know the full form and you have a general idea. So we're going to just look at ECOWAS at a glance. Mr. Constant, perhaps you could help us understand briefly who are ECOWAS and what is maybe a little bit of the structure and the relevance of this institution to the continent.
Okay, I assume that you are giving me the floor because I lost you for a while?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks so much. It's good to start by talking about my the regional organization in which I'm working, ECOWAS stands as an economic community of West African states. So it's about 15 member states. 15 member states, I can name them: Benin, Burkina Faso, Côte d'Ivoire, Cabo Verde, Ghana, Guinée, Guinée-Bissau, Sénégal, Togo, Sierra Leone, Liberia, I think the Gambia. So those are the 15 member states of the ECOWAS West Africa, the regional organization in West Africa. So ECOWAS is created in 28th of May 1975. So currently ECOWAS has many institutions. We have the commission. I'm working in the commission, but we have the parliament, we have the Court of Justice, and we have other agencies. So let me a little bit focus on the commission where I'm working, and also speak about some main organs of the commission. ECOWAS is led a vice president and 5 of political affairs, peace and security. So we have also directors working in the commission. We have a division, and we have also program officers working to support all the work we are doing. But the overall organ of ECOWAS is what we call the conference in French, but the authority of the head of state. The authority of head of state met regularly 2 times a year during ordinary session, whether in June, once in June, and the other one in December. 2 ordinary sessions. But when there are critical issues, they met during extraordinary summits. It can be many times, as far as is recommended. Today, for example, they met during extraordinary summit in New York during the General Assembly of United Nations. So they met to discuss emerging issue affecting the region in Mali and also in Guinea. So we are expecting feedback from that meeting very soon. So, but we have the parliament also, which is also made of parliamentarians from the 15 member states. So we have the Court of Justice. The Court of Justice is very important for ECOWAS citizens because they can ask the Court of Justice in the member states. So, but we have other agencies related to the development. We have agency related working for electricity, working to make sure that so let me name them for you. We have the West African Power Pool, which is in charge of electricity. We have the West African Monetary Agency, WAMA. We have ECOWAS brown card, because that facilitates the free movement of citizens with their car in the region. We have Regional Agency for Agriculture and Food. We have ECOWAS Gender Development Center, which is in Dakar, Senegal. We have ECOWAS Regional Electricity Regulatory Authority. We have ECOWAS Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency. We have West African Monetary Institute. We have ECOWAS Youth and Sports Development Center. We have ECOWAS Infrastructure Project Preparation and Development Unit. So we have those agencies which also are helping to make sure that ECOWAS is promoting economic integration of its member states and make sure that citizens move freely in the region and can set up their business wherever they feel like doing it. So that's what I can say in a nutshell. It's not all broad, but I can stop there. If there are follow-up questions, I can respond to it.
Thank you so much for that elaboration on ECOWAS and specifically the ECOWAS Commission. I'm so glad actually you took us into the next thing that I would like to talk about, which is economic integration and how that is related to good governance. I see already some people in the comment section who also work in the field of governance. That's very good. I'm glad that you've come to join us and we can have this discussion together. So Mr. Constant, you've already shared with us about ECOWAS. It's a regional group and has a mandate of promoting economic integration. So what would you say is the relevance of good governance in enabling this vision of economic integration? Why is good governance so important as we are working towards that economic integration?
Thanks so much for that important question. Good governance is very important today. That's why when I say that what I usually said when I'm doing presentation, I always say that the certificate of birth of ECOWAS is in 1975. And already in that certificate of birth, that is the first act that ECOWAS took, that is its existence, its birth. It is already the founders are already thinking of how to make this economic growth a reality. And when we are talking of economic growth, you agree with me that we cannot do it without addressing the good governance issue. That is why it's good that I talk a little bit about some steps in terms of normative framework that are tools that ECOWAS took to make sure that those normative framework create the foundation for the good governance. Then I will explain for me what is good governance. So the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, was established in 28 May 1975. I said it. So, but the fathers observed that this alone is not enough because we experience some military rules, civil wars in West Africa, in Sierra Leone, Liberia, Cote d'Ivoire, and they came up by a new treaty, by introducing a new treaty with a new mandate. So the new treaty went to consolidate the first treaty of 1975. So this happened in 1993, that we have the revised treaty of the birth certificate. The birth certificate of 1975 has been revised in 1993 with a new mandate, and that mandate consolidates what is in 1975, introducing the new mandate on regional security aimed to safeguard and consolidate relations between to maintain peace, stability, security within the region. So when they are reflecting on the causes of the conflict, it appears that the treaty that we had in 1975 was not enough. But they revised it in 1993. But still, they are not happy because it's not enough to talk of security, peace in the region. They went ahead to come out with a protocol in 1999, what we call the mechanism, in charge of conflict prevention, regional security, peace, peacekeeping, and all those things in 1999. But they are not yet satisfied. They went ahead in 2001 to come out with a new protocol on democracy and good governance. So you could see that the fathers or the head of state didn't cross their arms saying that, yes, we have the certificate of birth, it is already enough. But based on the situation in the region, they keep changing their protocol to adapt to the context, to make sure that everything is in place to promote good governance, because when you have good governance, you have security. Regional integration. So, good governance relates to the effective administration of every aspect of a system or of a country, from education to health to even sharing the outcome or the resources. How do you manage your resources effectively so that it should not be the benefit of few people, but the collectively people have access, benefit from the resources that belongs to the country. I think for me, that's the way I can say that I can define what is good governance. So what are the policy, what are the framework in place that you have, that you develop for yourself, saying that those are the things we need to respect to have order, to have peace, to have security in our context. When you respect those things, you are respecting, you are applying good governance, and you can promote peace when you apply good governance. So I can stop there for that question on good governance.
Thank you so much, sir. When you talked about when we have good governance, we have security, and that then enables integration. I think that's something that we can all really agree with, because good governance enables so many other parts of our systems. It enables so many other things to start working properly. So it's really important. And please go ahead, guests, are you also our guests, the audience, please go ahead and keep leaving we definitely like to see that we have so many people from across the continent. Thank you for joining from, I see Liberia, I see Tanzania, Kenya, Ivory Coast, Morocco, and so many others. Please know we are seeing you. I see Rwanda, South Africa, Ghana. Please continue to join us and also to invite a friend so that we don't keep this information to ourselves. We want to reach as many young people as possible. And if you've just joined us, we were just, Mr. Constant was just sharing with us the relevance of good governance in promoting economic integration. And one really key thing that he said is that good governance enables peace, which also then will enable economic integration and so much more. Now, ECOWAS is a member of the AGA platform, the African Governance Architecture. And just in case this is the first time you've heard of it, I think you've come to the right place. And we're going to learn a little bit something about ECOWAS as a member of the AGA. Now, Mr. Constant, perhaps you could help, you could kindly share with us what is the relevance of this membership in relation to governance, in relation to economic development? Why is it important for the why were regional bodies such a fundamental thing to be part of the AGA, and particularly the ECOWAS?
Yeah, you see, when we are talking of peace and security, when we are talking of good governance, is not an individual thing, is a collective process, is a collective asset, is a collective belonging. So being in West Africa, when we know that we have our sister region, East Africa, and we have the northern part, we have to belong to a great family and this AGA platform is very important because it provides the following for ECOWAS. It's help us to continue dialoguing on issue relating to good governance and promoting democratic principles. So being part of that platform, it's opened that window for ECOWAS to engage with the other regions to learn best practices on principles of democracy, on good governance issue. We learn from one another because alone we and learning opportunities from others' wrecks. And we also, by doing that, we strengthen the partnership because we learn from one another. We develop the culture of working together. We work and we coordinate things that we can do. We work in synergy among RECs and other issue that we share together, we know it and we see how we address them. ECOWAS has been also part in of that platform, and the advantage is that we do co-creation, we co-design, we co-implement activity, program, and project, all this to enhance our democracy principle and good governance principle, learning from other RECs to apply to our region. It creates data, and we were also privileged from the year 2018 to 2019 to be also vice chairmanship of the steering committee of AGA. So all those things are relevant for ECOWAS to be part of the AGA platform.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's actually is really in line with also what Ambassador Sala was sharing with us in the first episode of this program. He talked a lot also about that need for that unity, for that solidarity, for us to embrace those African shared principles, the sovereignty, independence, and democracy, and the rule of law, and how that can only be done when we are doing it collectively. So thank you. It's also, I think, when we continue to hear that same kind of message across the platform, I think it's very encouraging as well of, the vision and what the work is really leading towards, because there's that shared, I think there's a very shared value in where we want the continent to go. So thank you once again, and let me once again welcome all the people who have joined us. Now we're having a great discussion here about continental governance and the ECOWAS Commission. And if you've joined us now, maybe you timed us because we are specifically now just going to talk a little bit about the youth engagement. So what we'd like to ask you, Mr. Constant, to share with us is about youth engagement within the ECOWAS ecosystem. Young people, as a youth organization also, we get so many questions, how do I get involved here? How do I get involved here? And we've come to understand through research that there are so many places that young people could be taking part, that they could be included, but maybe there is a bit of a lack of information, or we are not, linking those spaces. So we really want to link that information space and teach the young people here, give them that knowledge of what the youth engagement system looks like within ECOWAS, and what opportunities perhaps even there might be for youth participation, maybe now and also in the future.
Okay, thanks so much for this question. I did mention of the protocol relating to democracy and good governance, which is very important. It's a very powerful protocol for us because when you read some article in that protocol, it is clear that ECOWAS provides a very good space for the youth in the region. You agree with me that our region is now dominated by the youth. So they represent more than 60% of the population. And when you consider that huge demographic number of a population, there's nothing you can do to prepare today and future without carrying along the young people. And from the democratic participation, the protocol related to democracy and good governance provides articles to encourage youth to participate on election process, to be part of election process, to be part of decision-making processes. Another framework, ECOWAS Conflict Prevention Framework, with all the 15 components I mentioned earlier, there is the component 11, the component 11, youth empowerment. That is the title of that component, youth empowerment. Give a very great status and place to the youth and encourage the youth in participation, in decision making, and participation in many things to make sure that tomorrow the region is well oriented and has a good leadership mainly the youth. That's why ECOWAS, in its practices, has a youth center. I did mention in Ouagadougou, in Burkina Faso, the youth sports center, youth center for internship, they have it, the youth center. But ECOWAS institutionalized program, youth programs, organizing youth tailored program by the ECOWAS Youth and Sports Development Center. We have those dealing with not only sports, but entrepreneurship. I know that center organized many training from youth in Songhai Center. Songhai Center is in Benin Republic, in Port Novo, where we have a complex in charge of promotion of agriculture, for energy maintenance and all those things. So there are youth from the region who are selected every year to go to that center to go for training, and after training they support them to settle down in their different member states. We have internship program in ECOWAS when youth are given their first experience to work in an institution like ECOWAS. So those young people also come from all over the 15 member states. Right now, for the year 2020-23, we have more than 10,000 applications, more than 10,000 applications that we have to select to have those who will be qualified based on the requests made by different departments, by different directorates, to be sent, whether they will serve in their country or they will come to Abuja or to do their first experience in administration, working with the REC. We have that internship. We have graduate and undergraduate internship programs. We also have ECOWAS volunteer program. Provide youth the opportunity to contribute practically and directly to their immediate environment. We have capacity building program where young people, we enhance their capacity, they and working with youth, enhancing their capacity. So we are preparing what we call the youth boot camp, where we selected young people, because when we are talking of peace and security, if you don't give the opportunity for young people to set up their own businesses, you are not contributing to peace and security. So we are working towards that, to organize youth boot camp, to make sure that we have youth leaders in some members, in all the member states, to be an example of young entrepreneur program. So those are the things we are doing. We have also inclusion of youth in programming, ensuring youth participation in commission programs. So we have here now in Abuja, we have many young people, graduates, undergraduates, who are here helping us, doing concept notes, budgets, discussing, having their first immersion in a working setup. So those are the things we are doing in the region to make sure that we don't abandon the youth, but we contribute to their growth in entrepreneurship or in whatever they feel like doing the years to come.
Thank you so much, Mr. Constant. I'm sure it's not just me that was encouraged to hear that so many young people are applying. To hear of 10,000 applications is a good thing. I think that youth are really putting their foot forward to be involved in these spaces. And it's great to hear that there are so many different avenues that the Commission has put in place for young people to come forward, acquire the skills they need, and really be part of these important processes, be part of creating the Africa that we all want. We're having a few questions in the comment section, and I'll ask you all to just be a little bit patient. We'll have some time for that. But also for those of you who are asking how to connect with us, we've left a few links in the comment section so that you can be able to connect with us. So going back to our discussion, it was great to again hear about those different avenues for youth engagement, because as an organization, youth inclusion is so important to us, and specifically in governance, because like you said, Mr. Constant, the continent it is a young continent with over 60% young people. There is no forward without the youth. And so when we now come into specifically that aspect of governance, in our first episode, we were fortunate to have Ambassador Salah of the AGA platform join us, and he really shared with us about the ACDEG. And I want to assume that maybe some of you may have missed that, although that's also saved on our platform, so you can certainly get some time later on and look into it. But since we have also Mr. Constant here with us, we'd like for you to share with us a little bit about what the ACDEG is and what is its relevance in this conversation that we are having. We are talking about youth inclusion in good continental governance. What is the relevance of this ACDEG document, this instrument called the ACDEG?
Yeah, thanks so much. The ACDEG is the AU main normative instrument to set standard for better governance across the continent. And it came into force in February 2012 after the ratification by 15 member states, given its objective of enhancing the quality of election in Africa, and also to promote human rights and strengthen the rule of law, impose political, economic, and social governance, and address the recurrent issue relating to unconstitutional changes of government in the continent. The ACDEG can be strategically positioned as a continental instrument to add impetus to the ECOWAS democratic governance architecture. ECOWAS has adopted, as I said, its supplementary protocol on democracy and good governance in 2001. So, as of 25th of March 2022, the Charter has been ratified 55 states. Among those who signed the Charter, 13 out of the 15 ECOWAS member states have ratified the Charter, making the ECOWAS the region with the higher number of ratification. Only 2 countries, Senegal and Cabo Verde, are yet to ratify the continental instrument. With this level of ratification, the focus of the ECOWAS region is more as to ensuring implementation of the ACDEG alongside the protocol on democracy and good governance. While advocating for ratification by Senegal and Cabo Verde in this regard, ECOWAS governance in the region. So the democratic dividends of the ratification of the ACDEC in the region can be seen in three folds. The first one, as we keep saying, is that election is the only means to gain political power. This convergence is real. That's why whenever we have a coup d'etat in West Africa, the country face the adequate sanction that is of government. That's what I just said. The third one is related to democratic governance. So for us, it's vital ACDEC for the region of West Africa, because it is supporting the ECOWAS supplementary protocol on democracy and good governance. So we cannot only rely on reference to but we can also refer to ACDEC because it's also consolidating the supplementary protocol on democracy and good governance. So that's what I can say relating to that question. It's very crucial, it's very strategic, very important, and it's showing that it's not only West Africa region which is thinking of good governance, the principle of respect to elected from the continent. Also, we have instruments which is also supporting our regional instrument. I think that's what I can say for that question.
Thank you so much, Mr. Constant. Again, quite a number of the things that you've said are, remind us also what was shared with us when we had a conversation with Ambassador Salah. And so it's great to just, to hear that message being repeated that, this instrument is actually significant in fact, it's been called the most prominent instrument that defines the continental governance agenda. And so I believe it's so important for young people to start to really know what is this instrument and what is its relevance. That when things happen in our countries, we are actually able to be part of the voices that are, that are asking for, this type of change or this type of change or this type of action to happen in the region, in the country. And we can't do that without the necessary knowledge on what instruments are working for us, what instruments apply to this particular situation. So thank you once again for sharing that with us and reinforcing what we've been learning about this instrument and what its relevance is for us, not just as countries or even regional blocks, but as a continent. So maybe now we can get into a question about civil society. A lot of the young people here, from what I can see in the comments, actually are in civil society. So how can the youth and civil society support the ACDEC agenda and support it, with regard to not just governance, but also, because like you said, they're all connected. We talk about governance, we talk about peace, economic growth, all these things are connected. So how would you say that young people, civil society can support this agenda?
Oh, okay, thanks so much. I think for ECOWAS, civil society organizations are very important. That's why we are, if I am not too much boasting that we are the first regional organization to sign a MOU with civil society organization, because we are not competing, we are complementing one another. We understand this. We cannot do everything. Within the member states cannot do everything. They need civil society to support, because we are all aiming at promoting peace and security. So if with that perception, we can achieve a lot. So the things being well informed, information is very critical, because many young people, they don't reach the normative framework to know where are their rights and what they can use to support their program, their project, their activity. Information is key and critical. If I ask, if you do an assessment, ask those who are with us, how many of them had the chance to read once their constitution? You will be amazed. So how do we get information is one key thing. When you get information, you have to own it. Ownership. You own it. You have ownership. Then you can do sensitization. You can embark in lobbying campaign. You can also embark in advocacy campaign. It's very important. But we know that civil society are close to the majority of the citizen in each member state. So they know the reality. So for me, civil society can do a lot to support the ACDEC agenda regarding governance. So they have to know, get information, better information on ACDEC, own it, sensitize, do lobbying, do advocacy based on the context in which they are. What are the requests of the context? And what are the window of opportunity that ACDEC is giving? Then they use it to close the gap. So information for me is very key. So they have to also network. They have to network, because this work we are doing is not one person network. They have to network. They have to professionalize themselves. Professionalize what they are doing, so that they develop their niche. And people know that when we are talking of governance, this is the leader in this country. This organization knows very well what is doing. When you develop your niche, naturally people will call on you. People will rely on you. You can, because you know what you are doing. We should not embark where there is opportunities, but we should embark on what we know better we can do. we had to develop our niche. So I think, and we have to, if we don't have the capacity, we go for capacity building to make sure that we develop ourselves and we can do justice to whatever we undertake. So when we do those things, I think there is no doubt that we can support the operationalization of ACDEC in our member states and make sure that there is more good governance around ourselves, from our family to the society, and that will benefit the nation. So that's what I can say regarding to that question.
Thank you so much, Mr. Constant, especially for highlighting the importance of knowledge. There's not the participation is one thing, but for it to be meaningful, we actually have to be armed. We have to have the knowledge in order to make real impact, or even be included in a way that's very meaningful. So that's certainly a message that will continue to be relevant for young people, for civil society, that we need to enter into spaces with immersive knowledge of these different things, so that we can actually have a good place, a good standing to participate and actually be helpful. So I hope that, that's one of the things we can live here with, that we are constantly looking for the information. If you hear about the ACDEG, are you going out there to find out what is this? What does it mean? I do recall when there was the 2009 coup in Madagascar, and it was a civil society group that actually really took up the cause of ratifying the ACDEG there, and having those principles instituted so that they could bring peace. And so it really is a great testimony, a great testament to what we can do if we are informed, and we can also act on that information. So thank you for sharing that with us, Mr. Constant. So now at this point, I'd really like to open up to our audience. I know I have seen some questions in the comments, but please feel free to put up your hand as well. And you can actually ask your question live. You can speak directly to us. I already see a hand up, so I'm going to give you the first opportunity. Valentine. Apologies if I've read that wrongly. Valentine, you can activate your audio, even your video, if you're comfortable, and ask your question.
Thank you so much. My name is Valentine Camaño Rivera. I'm currently in Mexico City. And I recently went to Nigeria and speak with you in a cultural exchange program in Abuja. And somebody's talking on the audio.
Some people are talking. Hold on.
Okay.
Please,
all right. Apologies for that. You can go ahead. Let's all try to keep our mics off. All right.
Yes. Thank you so much. And in my understanding of the governance system in Nigeria, it's perfect in its three systems. From what I can understand is that youth are starting to get engaged in the recent, even when I was there with youth. How can civil society be part of that integral framework to get youth engaged if they're not part of the ECOWAS, the African Union, in any NGO activism or supporting their representatives in the representatives like the minister or the representative of the municipality? How can they keep getting engaged in that manner and be part of that process, since Nigeria is so vast with experience? Because I have heard so much experience, even myself being in Abuja and Lagos, I just feel so inspired by the youth there when I hear their experiences about their representation and work volunteer experience. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Valentin. I think perhaps, is it okay with you, Mr. Constant, if we take two and then come to you?
Okay, I want you to. I didn't capture very well what good things Valentine was saying, but I would like you
Okay.
to summarize for me, so that I take it from there.
Okay. Perhaps, Valentin, could you maybe just summarize your question in like a shorter form, just so we can get like the gist of it?
Yes. For example, if there's applications that have been not accepted within the ECOWAS or African Union, youth within Nigeria, how can they get engaged with NGOs that do more local work in volunteering with their local governments to get engaged more with youth?
Okay. Mr. Constant, was that clear? Should I repeat it for you?
I understand how local CSO can engage more with local government to know more about ACDEC and implement it, if I get it right.
That is correct.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Valentin. Mr. Constant, if it's okay, perhaps I'll take a second one and then we can come to you.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. We have another hand up from Julius James. Go ahead.
Yeah, I am Julius James from Sierra Leone. And my question is this: why is it that most governments in sub-Saharan Africa have failed to promote good governance, whereas the organizations in the West Africa always preach about good governance and peace, but the governments have failed to promote good governance? Why?
Okay, thank you so much, James. So I'm going to just revert now to Mr. Constant, and then we'll also take two more hands. Mr. Constant, over to you, sir.
Are you giving me the floor?
Yes, the floor is yours, sir.
Okay, thanks so much. Thanks for Valentine for his question. I think concerning your question, I think we need to engage the civil society in the region on the instrument that we have. Your question is very important. It's very pertinent because what we experienced at ECOWAS after we sanctioned Mali, we get to understand that many citizens didn't know the normative frameworks that we have. And that's why from next year going, we decided to sensitize more our citizens, to make it a systematic approach. When we embark on any activity, we have to speak about the normative framework. So we have to work with the organizer to see how best we also take along ACDEC. I'll talk with my colleagues in charge of democracy and good governance, how to take it to member states, to promote it. They can go to the website, they can have more information, and I think that's the only way we can promote this at national level and take it to the community level as well. So I think we know that there's a systematic way of work we need to do from region to member states to the community level. We need to do it. And I think this is an opportunity. This should not be an event. We need to keep in touch to see how best we take it forward, this question, which is also a sort of recommendation that we need to work on, to make sure that people know more about AgDec and they know the usefulness of this instrument and how they can also make use of it to have the good governance in each member state is something that is important. And I thank you for that question. Concerning the second question, I'm not in government. But I observe. And for me, the blame should not be only on our leaders. It should be a collective blame. What I'm saying is discutable, but I'm saying it. I know that the good governance, all of us, we are working to get it. But I keep asking the question, do we want it really? Do we want it from our family, our nuclear family, to the society? Before we talk of the leaders, we produce the type of leaders we deserve because we promote that style of leadership ourselves. It's discutable because even within my organization, I'm sharing the same thought I'm sharing with you. How come when we take ourselves from the region, we go to abroad, we behave well? But as soon as we come back to our member states, we change our behavior. Those are the critical questions. So your question take us to the question of education. It should be we should be educated from our infancy to know and to respect the tool, the governance, the value of governance. From the infancy to the university level, we should practice it in our association. I know some CSOs, they are presidents from the creation, is still the president after 10 years, after 20 years. They don't have other presidents because the organization considers the organization as its belonging. So he is the only president from the creation after 20 years, after 30 years of existence. So having a change in attitude of our leaders depends on each and everyone, each citizen. So we had to embark on education, sensitization, on those values of good governance. So when there is a critical mass of citizens sharing the value of governance, there is no way a leader today we have the chance to have the social network. They can take the matter up. We can resign because we do not agree. We cannot pamper a leader when the leader is doing wrong. But right now, we pamper a leader when they are doing wrong. We support them because we don't want to lose our position. So when we will stop protecting our position, when we will stop pampering leaders and speak to the fact, speak to the test, speak to the protocol, calling for the respect of the test and the protocol, we will have good leadership. So leader can no more fail, because all of us, we know the value of good governance and we are promoting that good governance. That's what I would like to share with you on that question. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You shared a very powerful a point about really practicing what we preach. I believe even from, it made me also go back to another part of this project on youth voices on the continent on governance, was the Kenya ya Amani campaign that we had running for a few months before the Kenyan election. And we saw how youth putting down their foot for certain things really changed these processes. Because when we talk about governance, of course, democracy is a big part of that. What do our elections look like? What is the role of youth in those elections? Are we allowing to be used as tools of violence, as tools of corruption? Or are we saying, no, we are going to take this type of stand, and this is the kind of election environment we want to see. We want to see a democratic process, and we're actually going to raise our voices for that, and we are going to, reject to be part of the negative things that shatter those processes and really change, the landscape of governance and democracy in particular. So it's certainly, I think that's it is an irrefutable fact that it really is something that we have to do together. But let us take these last two questions. The first one will come from Karen Hillary. Please go ahead. Karen Hillary.
Yes, hello.
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay.
Yes.
My name is Karen Hillary from Tanzania. My questions goes directly from the first conversation where he stated that there is internship programs provided for undergraduate and graduate youths. So I was asking how, because he only talked of the Western side there in Abuja, but I'm asking, so how is it possible for we youth of East Africa, specifically Tanzania, be able to participate in some of the internship programs in relation to ECOWAS, as far as being part and parcel of the good governance? How is it possible for us? That's my question. Thank you.
Director, I'm in a meeting. I'll call you back, please. I'm in a meeting. Yeah. I'm the speaker. I'm in a meeting, please.
Apologies. Samuel Wekesa, please go ahead.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Actually, first of all, I want to apologize. I was late in the meeting, but I think I found you in progress. And I was a little bit nervous because I thought maybe I was in the wrong place. But I had a sister from Tanzania, and at least I was calm. So I'm Samuel Wekesa from Kenya, and actually I've been going through and I've seen the members of state of this ECOWAS, and I see that majority is the West Africa countries. So how are we, the East African youths, also going to benefit, also going to be part and parcel of going to be beneficiaries also in whatever this meeting or whatever this organization or whatever comes up that aims to impact the youths? Because actually right now when you look, you can see that even these youths are mingling. Like you find youths from Kenya, they are going in countries like Ghana, and you might find them, they're staying there. Others from Nigeria are here in Kenya. So you see, like, if we talk about youth, then let's talk about Africa. Because if we talk about West Africa, then we'll feel like we are isolated somehow. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Samuel. It seems the trend of questions is all right. I think those first two questions are pretty much okay. I see two hands, but I think they're from the same person. So I'll give you, Viola, just 30 seconds to share your question, and then that will be the last one we take. Viola Nekesa.
Thank you so much. My name is Viola Nekesa from Kenya. And my question goes out to you and the team ECOWAS. We have had countries that go through election, and maybe after election, there's certain organization that get into place to maybe advocate for peace and maybe post-election civic education at the same time. Do you have plans maybe around also ECOWAS, or maybe any future plans of having such projects whereby maybe after African countries are done with the elections, we get to educate the youths that maybe some of them who are vying for political seats and never got the chance to run, they can be able to maybe participate in some certain sittings like budget approvals or those civic education, that they can educate the people back in the village or back from the places they were buying seats from, to give them a better hope for tomorrow. Because once the youth are not able to get these positions, they end up maybe a bit demoralized, and you don't fight them on the ballot the next time. So can we have maybe other projects such as that, like maybe the way our organization Youth Governance in Action does? After the elections, we are able to gather some of the youths who are vying for seats, educate them, get to know which other positions they can still get and lead. So does ECOWAS have such a platform, or maybe can partner with some organizations or come in and also assist in offering such education? Thank you so much.
Yes, Mr. Constant, I'm handing over to you. Oh, I think you're muted. We can't hear you.
Okay, thanks so much. I'll mute myself now. It's quite interesting, the questions. The two previous questions are almost the same. They are asking for intensive program. Okay, I think by organizing this exchange, the advantage is for East Africa region to also learn from what we are doing in West Africa, to see how they can also initiate a search program for East Africa region. I think it's something that we can continue the discussion to see the feasibility in East Africa. I think we would like to take you on board, but one of the criteria is you should come from you should be member of West Africa. I think that's one of the criteria. But the good and the easier things is for East Africa to also initiate a search program for young people. I think it's something that we can further the discussion to see its feasibility. Concerning the post-election activity, I want to respond to this in twofold. The first one is when you are young people and you want to achieve something, do your homework, prepare yourself for it. What are the requirements? If you want to be in a political position, then you have to belong to a political party. You have to prepare yourself, be in the political party, work for that. That's the only way. But it's not only in a political party that we can serve our countries. We can serve it wherever we are. It depends on our dream. What is our dream? What is our objective in the years to come? Each and every one has his own objective. So how do we prepare to achieve that dream? Do we get educated? Do we make sure that we have the expected qualification? So do we go for internship to have experience in the field we want to work in? So when we do those things, we are prepared. Do we have the languages that are required to work in a such field? Then we know that we finished doing our homework. Then we will start applying or looking for opportunity to do so. I think for me, that's the first things that we need to do. But the second thing is not to consider participating in the election process, not to expect to be in a position when we are participating in an election process. We participate as a citizen, but we participate and we should vote for not somebody, but we should vote for a program that is also close to our vision for our country. So that's the other way. So when you are doing that campaign or that post-election activity, I would like you to also gear the discussion towards, as a citizen, I can decide by my ballot vote the destiny of my country in voting by candidate A or candidate B. So that is also something that we need to consider. So, but is a positive things I learned from this exchange, from your question, that we do not do that set of activities, but I'm taking note of it for ourselves. So that's what I can say, and over to you.
Thank you so much for answering those questions. Perhaps something I can add for the East African youth who are asking about opportunities. As you can imagine, ECOWAS opportunities are reserved for members of the ECOWAS. Similarly, there are plenty of EAC opportunities that are reserved for EAC member states. I encourage you to look up the East Africa in the East African Community Youth Ambassadors platform. It's a great platform with which we deliver as one as well, actually, as You Lead Africa. And there are so many opportunities there. There's so many young people who are getting the opportunity to be ambassadors for their countries and deputies, and also just like find and become members of that platform. And through that platform, they're able to access internship opportunities and so on. I don't want to dive into it because that's probably not what we're here for, but I encourage you to check that out. It is a great platform, and you can really find the opportunities you're looking for in this region. So that was just a small addition. But perhaps let me go ahead and say a big thank you, a very warm thank you to Mr. Constant. We appreciate you sharing your time with us, and for saying yes. Sometimes we are approaching people like you, and we are hoping that you'll say yes to come and spend some time with the young people in our audience. So we very much appreciate that. It's such a great example of servant leadership, and thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. We appreciate your time. And we hope to have you join us another time. We hope that we can be able to reach out to you another time and still have you share from the so much wisdom and knowledge that you have from all your years of experience to help us become more knowledgeable and impactful young people. So thank you once again for sharing your time with us. And thank you also to our audience. We appreciate your time from so many places and your so many time zones. You have made time to come and join us and have this conversation. So we don't take that for granted, and we hope that you will continue to stay on the platform and keep an eye out for more programs. We do have a couple of more exciting programs coming up within this project. We have, I'll just hint that there's, we have a podcast program coming, and we'll be interviewing some very great and impactful people from the AGA platform from across the continent. So we very much hope that you'll stay glued to our channels. I'll ask my colleague to send again our different channels where you can connect with us so that you don't miss out on these conversations, and we become those young people, the young people we're talking about who are not just informed, but also that information is empowering us to actually participate meaningfully in governance spaces. So thank you once again. And maybe let me, I don't want to be the last one to talk. Let me allow also Mr. Constant to just give us a quick parting shot. He may have something that he hasn't said. Any last words, sir? We would appreciate it.
I'm so happy to be part of this discussion. As I said, this should not be an event, but it should be a process. We can keep engaging one another. With the AU, we are discussing how we also invite AU ambassadors from other regions to West Africa to engage on some of the things we are doing. It's something that we still have in perspective. It is so that we have a lot to do, but we have to prioritize and see how we synchronize our activity to make sure to get there. So it was an opportunity to learn also. Thanks so much for giving me this opportunity, and we'll keep posted for following engagement. Thank you. Over to you.
All right. Thank you once again. So I'm going to go ahead and close this session with, I mentioned that we had a peace campaign before the Kenyan election. It was, our contribution to our community to say that, youth are going to take up meaningful and peaceful and developmental roles in governance, especially during that time of the elections. So enjoy this song that we created specifically for that campaign. And once again, I hope that you'll continue to join us in our various programs. We really like to engage with the youth. So please join us next time. And bye-bye, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you and good night.
Kopango Africa. Youth, we are no longer tools. So let's have peace in every step that we take.
Amani ni wewe na mi, wewe na mi. Amani ni wewe na mi, wewe na mi. Rise tukiwave kama flags of freedom. Tuna rise tukiwave kama flags of freedom, unrelenting. Flags of freedom. Tuna rise tukiwave kama flags of freedom. Uhuru. Flags of freedom. Uhuru. Flags of freedom. Uhuru. Flags of freedom. Uhuru. Flags of freedom. One party, humanity, showing up to maintain our sanity, adapting to love in this reality. With hope you can see, we struggle to be heroes rising. We believe a moja we can achieve. Rise to wave, come flags of freedom. Tuna rise to wave, come flags of freedom, unrelenting. Flags of freedom. Tuna rise to wave, come flags of freedom. Uhuru. Flags of freedom. Uhuru. Flags of freedom. Uhuru. Flags of freedom. Uhuru. Flags of freedom.
Young kings and queen, vijana Paul is the key. Opponents wanna feel queer, twin jalopy. Lesson not, tomorrow will rain. Pour on me, please quench my thirst. Bring in peace, oh that's my wish. Kenya, yeah, money, yes, see together. Beautiful people, yeah, Mama Africa. See the sun rising, we go get up. For the better, salute, we achievers. Hakuna kulala, I'm not ready for game, I'm not ready for blame. For the choice I make, yeah, for the choice I make, though.
Rise to wave, come flags of freedom. Tuna rise to wave, come flags of freedom, unrelenting. Flags of freedom. Tuna rise to wave, come flags of freedom. Uhuru. Flags of freedom. Uhuru. Flags of freedom. Uhuru. Flags of freedom. Uhuru. Flags of freedom.
MC Benny and I Jane. Peace to the world.